now. Okay. So as I said, tonight we're going to look at Nisargadatta. And so I'm looking at a reading from I Am That. And the questioner starts. He says, I am not well. I feel rather weak. What am I to do? Nisargadatta, who is unwell? You or the body? My body, of course. Well, yesterday you felt well. What felt well? The body. You were glad when the body was well, and you are sad when the body is unwell. Who is glad one day and sad the next? The mind. And who is the variable mind? The mind. Nisargadatta, well, the mind is the knower. Who knows the knower? Well, does not the knower know itself? The mind is discontinuous. Again and again, it blanks out, like in sleep or swoon or distraction. There must be something continuous to register discontinuity. I'm going to read that sentence again. There must be something continuous to register discontinuity. Questioner, well, the mind remembers. This stands for continuity. Nisargadatta, memory is always partial, unreliable, and evanescent. It does not explain the strong sense of identity pervading consciousness, the sense I am. Find out what is at the root of it. Questioner, however deeply I look, I find only the mind. Your words beyond the mind give me no clue. While looking with the mind, you cannot go beyond it. To go beyond, you must look away from the mind and its contents. In what direction am I to look? All directions are within the mind. I am not asking you to look in any particular direction. Just look away from all that happens in your mind and bring it to the feeling I am. The I am is not a direction. It is the negation of all direction. Ultimately, even the I am will have to go, for you need not keep on asserting what is obvious. Bringing the mind to the feeling I am merely helps in turning the mind away from everything else. Where does it all lead me? When the mind is kept away from its preoccupations, it becomes quiet. If you do not disturb this quiet and stay in it, you find that it is permeated with a light and a love you have never known. And yet you recognize it at once as your own nature. Once you have passed through this experience, you will never be the same man again. The unruly mind may break its peace and obliterate its vision, but it is bound to return, provided the effort is sustained, until the day when all bonds are broken, delusions and attachments end, and life becomes supremely concentrated in the present.
Could you read that paragraph again? I'm sorry.
Do you want me to read it again?
Yeah.
When the mind is kept away from its preoccupations, it becomes quiet. If you do not disturb this quiet and you stay in it, you find that it is permeated with a light and a love you have never known. And yet you recognize it at once as your own nature. Once you have passed through this experience, you will never be the same man again. The unruly mind may break its peace and obliterate its vision, but it is bound to return, provided the effort is sustained until the day when all bonds are broken, delusions and attachments end, and life becomes supremely concentrated in the present. What difference does it make? The mind is no more. There is only love in action. How shall I recognize this state when I reach it? There will be no fear. Oh, surrounded by a world full of mysteries and dangers, how can I remain unafraid? Your own little body, too, is full of mysteries and dangers, yet you're not afraid of it, for you take it as your own. What you do not know is that the entire universe is your body, and you need not be afraid of it. You may say you have two bodies, the personal and the universal. The personal comes and goes. The universal is always with you. The entire creation is your universal body. Now, mind you, he is talking not about you, the ego. He's talking about you, your true nature, the limitless awareness. The personal comes and goes. The universal is always with you. The entire creation is your universal body. You are so blinded by what is personal that you do not see the universal. This blindness will not end by itself. It must be undone skillfully and deliberately. When all illusions are understood and abandoned, you reach the error-free and perfect state in which all distinctions between personal and the universal are no more. You are no longer a separate me. That's what he's saying. Well, but I am a person, and therefore limited in space and time. I occupy little space and last but a few moments. I can't even conceive myself to be eternal and all-pervading. Well, nevertheless, you are. As you dive deep into yourself in search of your true nature, you will discover that only your body is small and only your memory is short, while the vast ocean of life is yours. Well, the very words I and universal are contradictory. One excludes the other. No, they don't. The sense of identity pervades the universal. Search, and you shall discover the universal person who is yourself and infinitely more. Anyhow, begin by realizing that the world is in you, not you in the world. Now, when he says discover that you're the universal person, that's a little bit, that's a confusion, because person and universal don't go together. Personal is, the person is, when he says person, person is personal. It is not universal. which is the all-pervading awareness. Anyhow, he says, begin by realizing that the world is in you, not you in the world. Remember, begin by realizing that the world is in you. Who is this? What is this you that he's saying? Is that he's talking about? Not you in the world. The you that he's talking about is the background, the ultimate, the non-conceptual, eternal, infinite awareness. So you are not in the world is in you. Well, how can it be? I'm only a part of the world. How can the whole world be contained in the part, except by reflection, mirror light? Well, what you say is true. Your personal body is a part in which the whole is wonderfully reflected. But you have also a universal body. You cannot even say that you do not know it, because you see and experience it all the time. Only you call it the world and are afraid of it. Well, I feel I know my little body, while the other I do not know, except through science. Your little body is full of mysteries and wonders which you do not know. There also science is your only guide. Both anatomy and astronomy describe you. Well, even if I accept your doctrine of the universal body as a working theory, in what way can I test it? And of what use is it to me? Knowing yourself as the dweller in both the bodies, you will disown nothing. All the universe will be your concern. Every living thing you will love and help most tenderly and wisely. There will be no clash of interests between you and others. All exploitation will cease absolutely. Your very action will be beneficial, and every movement will be a blessing. Well, it's all very tempting, but how am I to proceed to realize my universal being? You have two ways. You can give your heart and mind to self-discovery, or you accept my words on trust and act accordingly. In other words, either you become totally self-concerned or totally unself-concerned. It is the word totally that is important. You must be extreme to reach the supreme. Well, how can I aspire to such heights, small and limited as I am? Realize yourself as the ocean of consciousness in which all happens. This is not difficult. A little of attentiveness, of close observation of oneself, and you will see that no event is outside your consciousness. No event is outside your awareness. Well, but the world is full of events which do not appear in my consciousness. Well, even your body is full of awareness, so full of events which do not appear in your consciousness. This does not prevent you from claiming your body to be your own. You know the world exactly as you know your body through your senses. It is your mind that has separated the world outside your skin from the world inside and put them in opposition. This created fear and hatred and all the miseries of living. What I do not follow is what you say about going beyond consciousness. I understand the words, but I cannot visualize the experience. After all, you yourself have said that all experience is in consciousness. You are right. There can be no experience beyond consciousness, yet there is the experience of just being. There is a state beyond consciousness which is not unconscious. Some call it superconscious or pure conscious or supreme conscious. It is pure awareness, free from the subject-object nexus. Pure awareness, free from the subject-object nexus. I have studied theosophy, and I find nothing familiar in what you say. I admit theosophy deals with manifestation only. It describes the universe and its inhabitants in great details. It admits many levels of matter and corresponding levels of experience, but it doesn't seem to go beyond. What you say goes beyond all experience. If it is not experienceable, why talk about it at all? Consciousness is intermittent, full of gaps, yet there is the continuity of identity. What is this sense of identity due to, if not to something beyond consciousness? If I am beyond the mind, how can I change myself? It's just a few more paragraphs. Where is the need of changing anything? The mind is changing anyhow all the time. Look at your mind dispassionately. That is enough to claim it. When it is quiet, you can go beyond it. Do not keep it busy all the time. Stop it and just be. If you give it rest, it will settle down and recover its purity and strength. Constant thinking makes it decay. Well, if my true being is always with me, how is it that I am ignorant of it? Because it is very subtle and your mind is gross, full of gross thoughts and feelings. Calm and clarify your mind, and you will know yourself as you are. Do I need the mind to know myself? You are beyond the mind, but you know with your mind. It is obvious that the extent, depth, and character of knowledge depend on what instrument you use. Improve your instrument, and your knowledge will improve. To know perfectly, I need a perfect mind. A quiet mind is all you need. All else will happen rightly once your mind is quiet. As the sun on rising makes the world active, so does self-awareness affect changes in the mind. In the light of calm and steady self-awareness, inner energies wake up and work miracles without any effort on your part. You mean to say that the greatest work is done by not working? Exactly. Do understand that you are destined for enlightenment. Cooperate with your destiny. Don't go against it. Don't thwart it. Allow it to fulfill itself. All you have to do is to give attention to the obstacles created by the foolish mind. So, any questions, any
Read the
comments?
last paragraph again.
Last
Is it-
paragraph. Do understand that you are destined for enlightenment. Cooperate with your destiny. Don't go against it. Don't thwart it. Allow it to fulfill itself. All you have to do is to give attention to the obstacles created by the foolish mind. Mm.
And by that, he means just being aware. In other words, give attention to the obstacles. In other words, just to be aware.
What?
To witness them.
Well, yes. Well, he's calling upon that witnessing awareness, right? And he's calling upon choiceless awareness, which is the same. Witnessing awareness and choiceless awareness are the same. And yes, he's asking you to give attention to the workings of that mind, of the mind.
So when they come up, you don't get carried away by them. They
Yeah.
don't sweep you out to sea, so to speak.
And, you know, he said, when the mind is just constantly chattering, he said, bring it back to the sense I am. Just bring it back to this, to the present, in other words, to the now sense I am. But it's interesting, a quiet mind, he says, is all you need. Well,
Yes, that was so interesting and clear throughout the whole thing that he's just saying a quiet mind is the pathway, the open door. He's like saying when your mind is full of the chatter, the shifting of attention,
yes.
you know, taking the attention away from the content, away from the chattering, to the background, to the sense I am.
Right,
It's shifting the attention.
right. And it's
Which is one of
yeah.
the most fundamental choices we have as individuals, as to where we direct our attention. Most of us aren't even so keenly aware that we direct our attention. It's just pulled along by this impulse or that impulse, or this stimuli or that stimuli. We're bombarded all the time with different stimuli. So if the mind can go in, it's like a cat with catnip.
Right. Well, it's external
Yes.
stimuli, but also internal.
Mhm.
Look what goes on internally,
Sure.
the constant
Mhm.
images, the constant thoughts, the constant
Doubts.
the doubts, the fears.
Mhm. Mhm.
And he's saying, give attention to that. Pull the plug on that.
But
That's
like
the
you said earlier,
personal.
just the idea, the crucial idea is attentively turning inward,
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
a quiet mind,
Right.
which was the thread of the whole.
Yes, a quiet
Right.
mind. Right. A quiet mind is all you need. A quiet mind. I just so beautiful how
Yeah.
he says that.
Right.
All you have to do is give attention to the obstacles created by the foolish mind. And those obstacles fundamentally are the me, the personal, the separate self, whom we've identified with. That's the identity we live by and we live with. And when he says you have two bodies, he's trying to bring us back to the background. And yes, we have this personal separate body, but our identity is in this universal body, because that is that spacious awareness. He's saying that's what we fundamentally are. So then the question becomes, can we make that shift from this personal, separate me self and take our stand as awareness? Because all this is appearing in awareness. The body is appearing in awareness. All objects appear in awareness. You are never not aware. Waking state appears in awareness. Dream appears in awareness. Deep sleep appears in awareness. Yet we identify ourselves with this personal, separate me, and we suffer.
So he says, you are destined for enlightenment.
Yes.
How does one know when they're enlightened? He mentions earlier about not having fear.
Right.
Is that the main symptom?
Well, I told you that's what Jean Klein told us.
Yes.
Because I asked him that same question. How will I know? And he said, there will be no more fear and there will be no more desire. No more desire in the sense of wanting.
Yeah.
I mean, those are the two biggies, right, Bill?
Yeah.
Right.
Craving.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Fear. Craving and fear.
That's
Fear
right.
and craving.
Right.
You got it.
That's right. That's right. He said something else.
It sounds like an obstacle is something material. And I get the feeling that an obstacle can be the way I insist on identifying. It doesn't matter,
Sure.
or getting my sense of identity. It doesn't matter what the object is, whether it's a title on my name, or this big office that I occupy, or I'm running a department with 25 professionals, or I have
Oh,
We lost you.
we
Lynn.
lost you. We don't hear you.
Oh, that's a shame.
Oh,
identifying.
oh, could you
Laird?
repeat? Could you repeat?
You blocked out for a moment there.
Laird
Okay,
did?
I think
Oh, Phil did. Yeah, he's back.
what I said was, I'm suggesting that the obstacles are not the things that we use to give us a sense of identity. The obstacle is my insistence on using things, people, places, things, to give myself that sense of identity.
Right.
And when I look and repeat a phrase like, I am that, then that last word, that, takes on a very powerful meaning. Because that is not the that I fantasize and offer you as
Mhm.
me.
Mhm.
It is not.
Right.
So an obstacle can be something like the habit or the compulsion to identify with things in order to have a sense of identity.
Mm.
Things can be the way I comb my hair, it can be the car in the driveway, it can be
Sure.
my beautiful wife, it could be anything that I use in order to construct
A personal identity.
organism that I call me.
Right.
Right.
And then I offer it to you. And because you don't want to hurt my feelings, you pretend to accept it
Mhm.
Right.
because you're identified with the image of someone who doesn't hurt feelings.
Sure.
We're all such nice people. And what a shame.
Well,
I don't know if
yeah,
any of it makes
you're describing the interaction and reinforcement of all the image making process that our awareness or consciousness is infected with. Exactly. That's one of the more subtle obstacles.
Yeah, but
Mhm.
the thing about, I have a hard time thinking of my consciousness as mine.
Right.
I don't think it's mine alone. I think my consciousness is your consciousness. It
Yeah.
is the consciousness of my pussycat,
Mhm.
or when a flower blooms, it's doing what is in it to do based on its consciousness. And so what joins me with everyone else is this thing that we share and we don't own. We share it. Mine is the same as yours.
Yeah.
And I don't
Impersonal.
know where that even takes me personally, except that I lived so much of my life based on putting forth a personality, a persona that was not real,
Hmm.
that the cost of doing that can't be measured. And I don't spend a lot of time trying to measure it, don't misunderstand. But that quiet mind is me. That one
Mhm.
Yeah.
mind is quiet. When I do that, whatever you want to call it, and my mind is quiet, I'm sitting with me,
Mhm.
and there is no conflict. There's no argument going on. There's
Mm.
no back and forth, yes, no. And I'm drawn to that basically because within the limited scope of my ability to experience anything, I enjoy it. It's pleasant. There is no fear and
Mm.
there's no wanting. And then I step out into the world and I put on my persona again.
Mhm.
Right.
And then I want this, I want that, and I don't,
Mhm.
you should not, you should do this and you should not do that,
Mhm.
Yeah,
because it
well,
disturbs me.
yeah. Well, look, you're describing the reality that most of us clearly are living day to day with some pleasant interluding gaps where we're less carried away by the content of our consciousness. Anybody else have a thought they want to share?
Yeah, I have a thought.
Good.
Can I go?
Sure.
Yeah, yes, Chip.
I think, when he's talking about this universal person, I think he's really talking about this expanded sense of self. And, we get a little bit hung up on the word person
Mm.
with the notion that person is a particular body or another. But the way he's talking about it, he's saying you shall discover like the universal person
Mm-hmm.
who is yourself and infinitely more. And he's talking about, this universal self, which you're able to see. So he's basically saying, you can look out and see a bird or a tree, you're aware of this in the same way that you're aware of your own body, your own human body.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think he's really talking about that as what he's calling a very personal experience, which is this notion of an expanded self, which is basically everything. So there is no other. It's the non-duality
Mm.
stuff.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I just think he uses the word, he's talking about personal body and universal body, but he's saying you also have a universal body.
Right.
And he's saying you cannot even say that you don't know it because you see and experience it all the time. Only you call it the world and are afraid of it. So it's this idea that what we're perceiving outside our human body, we're perceiving as other. And
Yes.
his experience of it, he's talking about his experience of it as it's also him itself. It's also him. Or I'm using the word him, but
Yes. Yes.
it's also the self
Yes.
of which he is.
Right.
And so this idea of consciousness, like, you're talking about my personal thoughts, right? There are no personal thoughts. They're all our thoughts, right? And we have these experiences where we're able to actually experience the thoughts of what we're considering to be others. Why is that? Because we're connected to that. It's anyway. So I think this idea of universal body for him is he's expressing an experience that he's having.
Right.
That's it.
Right. Okay. But just to be clear, he's not presenting it as an object, right? It's not an object, this universal body. Just like the personal body is an object, the universal body is not an object because it's what we are. It's what we fundamentally are. As you said, Chip, it's this limitless self, this non-separate self, this background, this pure awareness, this choiceless awareness. So I think that it's probably important to have a realization that this me and this body that I feel myself to be is not the ultimate subject, even though we think of it as the ultimate subject, that it is an object. And when we look out and we see the world as an object, we see it as something separate from us. And that's why as he said, you are afraid of it.
Mm-hmm.
But you see, when you no longer see yourself as this constricted me, but when there's a realization of this expansive vastness, this ultimate awareness, then everything is this ultimate awareness. There is nothing that's not this ultimate awareness, including the world. I'm not separate from it. It is not separate from me, not the personal me, the universal.
Well, you know, we're brought up with the notion of having an identity. We're brought up with that. We're conditioned that way. You cannot get away from it. I don't know, maybe there might be some exceptions to it, but everyone growing up has a name and they identify it. That's me. This is mine. That's yours.
Mhm.
As you come through what we're talking about, there comes about an understanding that there is another way of viewing, and there's another way of experiencing what the body senses tells the body, or what the body is experiencing. And that you can see without saying I'm seeing. You can see without having to go through the thing up here which says I am seeing, I am hearing, I am listening, I am doing all of this. Because I think what they're talking about there is that what that does is that reinforces the me, the I am seeing, and that creates the duality. But you can experience that. You can experience music. You can experience art in a museum. You can experience hearing without that process, without the me. And when you're doing it, there is no it's great or it's bad or it's that. There's just the doing. There's just the thing. And I think that's what Nisargadatta is trying to say, get at, is that if you can quiet, which is part of quieting the mind, because quieting the mind is synonymous with the I is not present. The mind cannot be quiet and be thinking about me or the ego or I or me. So in that state, I think that's that feeling of universality,
Mhm.
and that's how it germinates from realizing that this way of experiencing the world through the me, through the I, is where the suffering comes from. So anyhow, it gets more, but I get all that stuff at some point.
Yeah, I think, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Um, I have tried to follow meditation practices to help me understand awareness, help me meditate in awareness. And I've come to understand that, you know, it's almost like an energy. Awareness is the only thing that can see awareness is awareness. That's not thinking. That everything is lit up with awareness. And to observe awareness, we can't see it or think it. We have to try to, it's a very, very subtle, very, very, the most subtle of energies to, and I've had glimpses of it where I think I know what it is, but then again, it comes to that I'm thinking that I know what it is. So I try to ease into it. And so,
Right. Chip?
Chip,
Yeah, sorry. I think this, I think is what he was talking about, just to be clear, he's talking about your personal body in which the whole is wonderfully reflected, but you also have a universal body. That's a second thing. And then I think the backdrop that you're talking about is basically that awareness that Laird is referring to and Evelyn and Paul are referring to. So I think there are three things. I think there's the awareness or the backdrop in which all things basically exist. Then I think there has what he's calling the universal body, which is basically all these, one of the things he's talking about are these manifestations of other things, birds, trees, etc., which you can see, and then the personal body. But all of these, again, as we always say, exist in consciousness. And I think the state we're looking for is the recognition that we are that consciousness, and that's it. Everything arises within that consciousness. So I don't exist in the world exists in me because it exists in my consciousness or in my awareness.
right.
But I think this recognition of this universal body is a step towards the expansion of the limited self, or what we're calling the personal self, from that body identity to, oh, then there's more. And I think we can actually have, and we're able to have these experiences which extend beyond the physical human body. And then, as you're saying, as we're talking about, we can have the experiences that extend beyond anything. They don't exist in the realm of things.
Right.
Thanks. That was it.
Right. Yeah.
I'm a little bit confused. You know, my understanding of consciousness is this, it's the total of our memory. That's all, everything that we experience. Consciousness is not now. Consciousness is after now. Now has no consciousness, the present right now. So that the consciousness is where all of our experiences are recorded. And one of the problems with that is that they're recorded being filtered through the eye, and they have that memory can be faulty. But I'm not sure. Do I have a wrong understanding of this thing that we're talking about consciousness?
No. Okay. Some teachers interchange consciousness with awareness.
I can't. That's very confusing. I don't think awareness has anything to do with consciousness at all. I mean, awareness is.
Correct.
With my body or not, whether I'm here or not, awareness is.
Correct.
But consciousness, when we're talking about an individual, it's my consciousness, which is the consciousness of the world, as I understand it. But it pertains to what I have in memory up here. That's consciousness to me.
Yes.
My consciousness.
Yes.
So,
But I think, Ugo, in the model that we are working from, one might say to you, the consciousness that you just described, that consciousness, so to speak, floats in a sea of awareness. Awareness trumps consciousness, so to speak. Awareness is the more
Without awareness, there is no consciousness, right?
right.
Awareness is the more primordial background inner place.
Right.
Consciousness precedes it, so to speak. Or
Right, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
I don't know. You go ahead.
Well, yes, I'm telling you, there are different teachers use it differently. I know Krishnamurti used consciousness in saying that it's in the content.
Right.
Our content is our consciousness. And he was saying that fundamentally everyone has the same content in the sense of everybody has sorrow, everybody knows fear, knows happiness. And yet the content of our consciousness is different in that we've been conditioned differently, right? So, right. So that's how Krishnamurti tends to use it. I think what Nisargadatta is saying here, because he keeps saying there's something beyond consciousness, that which is beyond consciousness, certainly for Nisargadatta is pure awareness.
The immeasurable.
That's right, the immeasurable, the expansive, the background. Some people call it God. So I don't know if that helps at all. I mean, that's my understanding.
Ugo, I think you're right. I'm sorry. I was using the words. I was trying to use the words that he was using in his talk tonight, but you're right. So there's awareness, which is the backdrop, which is outside of the realm of creation. And then there's consciousness, consciousness. The word is like con, which means like with or together, right? And the CO is like to know. So it's like consciousness means that you're aware of something else. There's like, so there is other. So I'm conscious of the sound. I'm conscious of.
Mhm.
So we typically say that in the world of creation, which is the
Right.
world of duality, which is separate things, right? So I'm conscious of this, but you're right. So I apologize for that. I completely agree with what you said
Oh,
about
well-
or what Evelyn said. So awareness and what Paul said. Awareness is the backdrop. Simply is. There is no creation at that point. There is no
Right.
Right.
and then consciousness could be used in different ways depending upon how it's breaking out, but it could be awareness within the realm of creation where there is other. So I maybe I shouldn't have said that, but anyway, I'm
Yes.
off. Thanks.
I was very fascinated with hearing what Ugo said, because I related it to things in what I've heard that you know, everything we think has a, you know, we get fooled. Consciousness becomes very small, and we think I'm the thinker of a thought. Like, here I am, and here's my thought. Some of it might be based on memory or not, but I'm just hearing that I want to always try to tie into the universal awareness, that it's part of the universal awareness. It's not me having a thought, this meanness. I don't know. I'm just trying to contribute here.
Okay. Well, it's interesting. You know, I think all roads lead back to what he was encouraging us to do tonight, which is, in a sense, cultivating a quiet mind.
Yes.
Looking for every opportunity to return to the silence, right? And not get carried away. What did he say?
Yes.
The foolish mind. Want to read that again one last time?
All you have to do is to give attention to the obstacles created by the foolish mind. So what are those obstacles?
The
Wow.
content of your consciousness.
Yes, the content of your consciousness. This me. And all that's in that. That's the content of your foolish mind.
So yeah, and so the obstacles are whatever's playing at any given moment on the channel of on the YouTube
Yes.
channel that's my mind.
Right. So just to see it, right?
Yeah, just to see it.
Right.
So maybe this week you can all remember to check in and watch what's playing in the theater of your mind. That would be some nice serious effort.
It's,
Get the popcorn out.
it's constantly screaming. It's programming. I don't have to tune in. It's screaming it at me.
Okay, but I think what's really important is the realization that when there is awareness of the movement of these thoughts, of the sound of the chatter, you are out of it. In that moment, you are out of it. Otherwise, you would not know it, right? Like he said in the beginning, there has to be something. Let me find his words. That's in order to know, there must be something continuous to register discontinuity. That which is continuous is this awareness, the background, the absolute. And that which is discontinuous, that has discontinuity, is everything made up of that chatter.
Well,
Okay. So thank you so much again for
Yeah.
coming.
right. And let's look forward to next week and having another good conversation.
Lovely. Thank you.
Good.
Stay well, everybody.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Have a good week.
Bye-bye. Good
Thank
night.
you. Good night.
Buonanotte tutti.
Buonanotte.
Yeah.